In a previous video, we've talked about how you can find the subject of the sentence by asking the question, who or what is doing the action of the main verb? And in this video, we want to talk about some more advanced subjects. So cases where it's a little bit trickier to find the subject, and we're going to look for things to watch out for as you try to find the subject of the sentence. Our first one reads, he was the harassment officer at the time of my complaint. One thing to watch out for as you look for the main verb is that very often the main verb is going to be a linking verb or some kind of verb that doesn't really grab your attention. And in this case, if you're just looking for actions, you might be distracted by a word like harassment or complaint, right? These words, they sound like they are actions. But it's really critical that as we look at the sentence, we know what these parts of speech or what these words actually do. And in this case, harassment is acting like an adjective to describe the officer, what kind of officer, and complaint here is a noun. It's the object of the preposition here, the complaint. So it's not a verb. And that's why in this case, the main verb is was, right? A linking verb. And then we can say, well, who or what was? And the answer is he. So the takeaway then is watch out for those little verbs and don't be confused by words that sound like actions but are actually different parts of speech. Okay, the next one here reads, being willing to take action in a crisis is the mark of a strong leader. The thing to watch out for here is verbals. So a verbal is a part of speech. Well, it's not its own part of speech, but it's basically a word that's derived from a verb, but is usually no longer acting like the main verb unless it has a helping verb with it. An example would be a present participle, and in this case we have two in a row here, being willing. Okay, these are both present participles. They end with in ing, and they don't have any helping verbs with them, right? So they can't be the main verb of the sentence. Another verbal here is to take, and this is the infinitive form. So this one also does not have a helping verb with it, and you can see then that all of these verbals are not the main verb. What is the main verb here is again this linking verb is, and so the whole subject together is being willing to take action in a crisis. Now you could put this last bit in brackets as a prepositional phrase, but this is the complete subject, all of this together before we get to the linking verb. So watch out for that. Sometimes your subject is going to be quite long, and a verbal is only the main verb if it has helping verbs with it. Okay, let's go to the next one then. This one reads, there is a little gnome at the front door, and this one starts with an expletive. Expletive, which is not a swear word in this case. That's a different expletive. An expletive is a phrase like there is, or it is, or there was, that starts a sentence. Often that expletive is not actually necessary. You could say a little gnome is at the front door. Okay, but if you have an expletive, then it might be tempting to say that there is the subject if is the main verb. Who or what is, there is. But you shouldn't do that. You should actually look for the actual subject after the verb in this case. So the gnome is the subject. Let's go to the next one, and we have just two left here. So this one reads, don't tell mum our secret. And the verb here is don't tell. So if we say who or what don't tell, then the person doing this action is actually outside of the sentence. And that's because the verb here is an imperative verb. So an imperative verb refers to a verb that orders somebody to do something. If that's the case, then the person you're ordering is presumably outside of the sentence, and so the implied subject would be you. So the subject of don't tell would be something like you. Okay? And this only happens with imperatives. Otherwise, the subject will definitely be inside the sentence. Last one, among the books is a volume of poetry written by your aunt. Here the verb again is, and sometimes it happens that the subject comes after the verb. It's fairly rare in English, but in this case, if we say who or what is, then we would actually have to say a volume of poetry. A volume of poetry is among the books. okay? Because this first bit is a prepositional phrase, and so it cannot contain the subject. Those are a few things to watch out for when it comes to advanced subjects, and try the exercises on the website to really get better at finding the subject in a sentence.